Wednesday, April 15th, 2026. And we'll give this a few minutes for people to join and we'll get started. All right, we have a few joiners now. We'll give it another minute or so. Well, I see New York is at it again. First, they came after people's real guns. Now they're going after BB guns. It just never ends. We have early voting in Tennessee this weekend. So I'm going through the list of all of the people that I hope to vote for that are pro-gun. Hopefully that works out. And we are about 55 subscribers away from 8,000, which is a huge milestone. Last year at this time, we only had 1,000. So thanks to everyone that's subscribed and supported the channel. Greatly appreciate that. And I know I started the stream a little early today. Gen X, how are you? Welcome. Thanks for joining our live stream. I don't see Mike and Jib Jab yet. Well, today I'm going to ask you guys for some advice. I haven't been a big fan of Kimber. I've mentioned a few times I always wanted a Kimber 1911, and a few years ago I bought a Kimber Custom 1911 45 ACP. I had it for a few weeks. I couldn't stand it. I traded it in for my Colt Government model because it kept jamming. Hey, Slither. And it could have been me being too impatient. I have found that with 1911s, a lot of the jams are because of magazines. And I probably should have tried my Wilson Combat mags in the Kimber before I got rid of it. And I didn't. I only run Wilson Combat mags in all my 1911s. And nothing to do. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. But anyway, I'm thinking of maybe giving them another try. I was on Grab a Gun, and there seems to be a lot of good deals on the Kimbers. Obviously, I will be getting a 45. But there's a lot of good deals right now on some of the Kimbers at, around 600 something bucks. So I'm thinking maybe I'll try it again and see. Um, like I said, every 1911 that I run Wilson Combat or Chip McCormick grips, and have never had a failure. So maybe I was just too impatient. AG, thank you. Good evening. Thanks for joining. And Techman, hello again. Thank you for joining. So, being that I own way too many 9mm, and I won't buy any more of those, I'm thinking maybe I give the Kimber another shot. That's interesting there, Gemini X. Didn't even know Colt made a 380. I bought 2 years ago for Christmas. Grab a Gun had a sale on the Colt 1911 full size government competition plus, and it was on sale Christmas Eve for $9.99, and I bought it, and the thing now is back up to $1,300. It is one of my favorites. I also have the Ruger SR 1911 with the aluminum frame. I have the Springfield Emissary. I have a Springfield Ronin. And best fan, you can go back in your mommy's basement. So, being that I decided I may go for another Kimber, I'd like to know what your thoughts are on the aluminum frame 1911s. I have an aluminum frame on my Ruger, and I like it a lot. It makes it a lot lighter to carry. And Lewis, hello to you. And we have a whole bunch of new people on the stream today, which is a good thing. We do this stream every Wednesday evening, 8 o'clock Eastern, and every Saturday at 12 noon Eastern. If you haven't done so, please subscribe to the channel. We're 55 subscribers away from 8,000, which is a huge milestone for us. Last year at this time, we only had 1,000 subscribers. So thank everyone that subscribed to the channel. John's Life, that's a good price. I mean, like I said, I love my Glocks. I'll never part with them, but I'll never buy another one because they sold out. And Sojo, you can go into your mommy's basement. To be honest with you, Techman, there's, other than like a High Point and a Sky, there aren't many guns that I really would avoid. And I guess Rapture ready, you're ready to crawl back into your mommy's basement. Yeah, I love the trolls. They are very entertaining. Though. I gotta tell you. I mean, it's actually very flattering that I do the stream and I get all these trolls and liberals. And shepherds, hello, thanks for joining. But it is flattering because there's a ton of other things people could be doing, and they choose to join my stream. So, And Derek, you can go in your mommy's basement. So it's going to be interesting now to see how the new DOJ defends our Second Amendment rights, because obviously Pam Bondi did nothing. Yeah, you're not kidding, Mike. The Democrats do hate America. And Spider-Man, you can go into your mommy's basement. Damn right, Dibs. And that is true too. Without the Second Amendment, we have nothing. An interesting thing about it is that out of all of them, why is it they only attack the second? Because, like you said, it protects the rest of them. And the Second Amendment is the only amendment that you need a license to exercise your rights. And it's not the government's right to take away. And you're welcome, Dibs. We love America. Unlike the liberals who hate this country, I don't know why they don't just move. You see that shit show that's happening in Virginia. Very close right now to making a whole bunch of law-abiding citizens felons. There's Duke. How you doing there, brother? And that's right, we the people. And the funny thing about it is, there's nothing in the Second Amendment that has a but or an except. And, you know, there's a congressman, I think he's from Utah, that's trying to push national reciprocity. Good luck for him, but honestly, that's just bullshit. It's never going to happen. There's no way in our lifetime we'll ever have national reciprocity because the liberal states are just never going to comply. Why didn't people move when Biden was president? I guess because the liberals that voted for him just drank way too much Kool-Aid. Yeah, I tell you, garage guy, I I feel for you, bro. And that that governor of Virginia, she is borderline schizophrenic. And she really is. And she's a freaking lunatic. Unfortunately, the state police have no intentions of um, going house to house collecting firearms from people. But then you got New York. They went after people's real guns. Now they're going after BB guns. I mean, it's just freaking stupid. I agree, Dibs. Matter of fact, they should just take all the liberals and put them on their own island like they did with the lepers or the people with TB and let them all infect each other because they are really just destroying the country. The funny thing about it is that the liberal with the brain damage, John Fetterman, makes the most sense. I have more and more respect for that man every day. I give the guy a lot of credit for standing up to his own party. Why worry about states that you don't live in? I'll tell you why. Because it starts out in the state you don't live in, and next thing you know, it happens to the state you do live in. So I'm concerned about what goes on in every state. And everyone else should as well. I keep up with gun news in every state, especially my own. And I tell people all the time, go to your state's website, find out what bills are being introduced, good or bad, write your representatives. I write my representatives every month. Yeah, you ain't kidding, Dutch. You are in your own island over there with all those lunatics. That's what I'm saying, Dibs. Um, John Fetterman is the guy with brain damage, and he makes the most sense. But I do have more and more respect for that guy every day. Um, he's not afraid to stand up to his party. Um, I'd really like to see him jump ship and become Republican instead of independent, because as an independent, all he's going to do is take votes away from one party or the other. He seems like a decent guy that you could work with at least. But it's going to be interesting to see who does run. But the most important thing we need to do is we need to have a attorney general that's going to stick up for us. Arizona is very pro gun, as is the great state of Tennessee. You can't imagine how much of a change this was when we moved to Tennessee from New Jersey. Um, you know, I'd go to the gun store and ask questions, and they would just like laugh at me because I didn't know any better. Whether I'm pro life or not, it's got nothing to do with firearms. So, yeah, I do think Fetterman is going to become a Republican. Maybe he wants a job from Trump or something, but I don't know. I just have a whole new respect for that man, standing up to all those lunatics, and he does it, and he doesn't care. Got to give him credit. He is the only liberal that stands up to the other lunatics. He was also the only liberal that shook President Trump's hand uh, during the speech. So kudos to him. Anyway, let's get back to the firearms here. So, like I said, I think I'm seriously going to consider Kimber again. I just got my excess tritium night sight in for my Colt Viper, and I like it a lot. I didn't like the blacked out sight that came on it. I could just about see. Uh, if you're talking about the Bond Arms Little Derringer in 4570, I would not think that would be a good first gun. And you know what, Dutch? I think you can go in your mommy's basement. I like all my 1911s stock. I don't mess with them. Um, Out of the box, the 1911 has got the best trigger in the world. Son of no cool, you can go to your mommy's basement too. And Roddy, there's don't say unfortunately. There's nothing wrong with Charter Arms. Um, I have a Charter Arms Bulldog 44 Special. Um, my wife has got a Charter Arms Lavender Lady. Um, Nothing wrong with Charter Arms. What are my favorite guns? Well, the problem when you have a lot of guns is you have a lot of favorites. But as far as my revolver goes, I'll take my Colt Python as my favorite revolver. User, you can go in your mommy's basement now. If I had to go for a 9mm, I would probably go with my. Thank you for that, June. I appreciate that, Junebug. Thank you for joining. If I had to pick a 9mm, I would go with my Springfield Echelon. I do have a lot of others that I like. If I had to go with my 1911, I'd go with my Springfield Emissary. If I had to go for a 1911 that is not a 1911, I think the Glock 21 is the best 45 ACP on the planet that's not a 1911. And for the 10mm, hands down the Glock 20. So I hope that answers your questions there, Galopic. And again, we have a lot of new people on the stream today, so I appreciate that. Thank you all for joining. We do this every Wednesday evening at 8 o'clock Eastern, every Saturday at 12 noon. We discuss firearms and accessories, share information. And Sunoco, you're going to go into your mommy's basement. But anyway, the whole purpose of this stream is to share information. We don't all know everything, but everyone knows something. I learned a lot from you guys, and hopefully you guys learned from me. I've been involved with firearms for over 40 years now. So I like to help as many people as I can. If you haven't done so, please subscribe to the channel. I have almost 1,000 videos out there. There's videos that cover firearms, accessories, training. I got a really cool product that I reviewed over the weekend from Guard Dog Security. And it is a baton flashlight with a stun gun built in, 18.5 inches. That thing is just badass. So there may be people that don't own a gun, whether they can't own one or for religious or philosophical reasons, they don't want to use deadly force. It's just a great personal defense device. And it's, I don't know, I think they said 7 million volts. It's a lot. I was going to have my wife zap me to do the video, but I changed my mind. Your local pastor, you're going to go into your mommy's basement. I do not own an AR-7. You know what? I should look into that. AR-10. You know, it's funny. I love the 308. And I'm thinking of building an AR-10. I've been thinking about it for a long time. The receivers are a lot more money than the 5.56s, but I may wind up doing that. I built a 5.56 AR pistol with a 10-inch barrel. I built a 300 blackout pistol with a 10-inch barrel. Um, Maybe I'd build an AR-10 next. Um, it's a lot of fun building your own AR. Um, you learn a lot about the firearm by building it, and I like the fact that you can put your own components in it. Um, I have a competition trigger in mind, custom charging handles, um, and they're a lot of fun. And I know I enjoyed building my 5.56 and my 300 blackout, so I'm pretty damn sure I'm going to love building the AR-10. Um, I always wanted a 308, and I always wanted a bolt action. Hey, there's Ozzy. Welcome, brother. And a few years ago, I wound up buying a Remington 308 bolt action rifle, and that thing is dead nuts accurate right out of the box. Sure thing, you can go in your mommy's basement. Boy, the liberals are out tonight. But, that's because they don't have jobs. So they stay up all night watching cartoons and sitting on the couch in their tidy whities eating cheese doodles. And I guess eventually when mommy goes down with the vacuum cleaner, it wakes them up and they crawl out and decide to join our live stream. So we welcome them too. Yeah, that's another sore subject there, Benito. You're just not safe anywhere. And that's why everybody should own and carry a firearm. Um, if providing you live in a state you can carry one. Damn right, Roddy. That old Colt AR-15 has got to be worth a fortune now, man. Those things were incredible. And yeah, let him come and try to take mine. That's the funny thing about it is that, the government is trying to create a unarmed society, but the bad guys are still going to have their guns. And they don't understand that there's more guns than there are people in this country. So um, I'd like to see them try to do that. And Garrett, you can go into your mommy's basement now. I hear your mommy calling you. Bye bye. A few weeks ago, I bought the Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0 10 millimeter. I really pounded the crap out of that thing, and I'm liking it a lot. I'm very surprised with the quality of it. I've never been a fan of the Smith & Wesson pistols before. The triggers always felt gritty, but not on the M&P 2.0. An unarmed society is not the answer. Look at the UK. So in the UK, it's almost impossible to get a gun, right? But everybody just stabs each other. Those are worth money too, Roddy. New York City? Yeah, New York City's got that Muslim mayor who also hates America. They got a lunatic governor over there too. And it wasn't enough going after people's real guns. Now they're going after BB guns. And then you got that lunatic governor in New Jersey. Exactly, Roddy. An armed society is a polite society. They lost the war on guns, and they know that. They know that there's no way they're going to get the criminals off the street. So the only thing they can do is go after the law-abiding citizens because they can control us. They can't control the criminals. You know what, Tommy? I agree with you. I have a Umarex Glock 19 clone, and that thing is a spitting image of a Glock 19. If you put them side by side, even a cop can't tell. And if you were to take that gun out and do something stupid, you'll wind up getting killed because there is no way that a cop can identify that Umarex Glock 19. It was released under Glock supervision, and the exact detail, size, weight, dimensions, everything is 100% on scale with the Glock. There is no way that a cop is going to be able to tell. And if some stupid kid is walking around pointing that at someone, they're going to wind up getting shot. I mean, I get that, they want to have orange tips on them or have the barrels orange or something so that you can tell they're air pistols or paintball guns. I'm all for that because you can't tell with some of them. They are so realistic. All right, Duke, thanks for joining us, brother. We'll be here Saturday. We'll see you then. I agree, William. They will do that. Matter of fact, they're probably doing it already. When you have these liberal states that have no cash bail and they're letting violent criminals out on the street, it's mind-boggling. And why are you imposing gun laws on law-abiding citizens? They're already law-abiding citizens. The criminals don't follow the law. So you can make all the gun laws you want, but if the criminals don't follow the law, there's no point in having them because we're law-abiding citizens. We don't need gun laws. What kind of gun is my favorite? Well, I own a lot of them, and it depends on what platform. Whether you mean a revolver, pistol, caliber. I mean, I have a lot of guns and I have a lot of favorites. So if you want to be a little bit more specific, I'll be happy to answer that. Again, thanks to all the new people joining tonight. If you like what we do here, we do it every Wednesday evening at 8 Eastern and every Saturday at 12 noon. If you haven't done so, please subscribe to the channel, watch our videos. We have almost 1,000 videos out there. I've reviewed a lot of firearms, accessories. I have training drills. Whether you're a new shooter or an experienced shooter, there's a video out there that I'm sure you can learn from or benefit from. Good one, thanks. Don Santino. Looking to get your first gun? Let me give you some advice. I've been doing this for over 40 years. Don't even waste your time or money on a 380. Besides the fact that 380 ammo is hard to find and more expensive, it's not really an ideal defense gun. Get a 9mm. There's really not much difference in recoil between a 9mm and a 380. And if you want the best 9mm for the money, hands down, the Ruger RXM 9mm is the best 9mm on the market. It's under $400. It's optic ready. The grip module is made by Magpul, and they knocked that out of the park. It's got a tritium front night sight and a U-shaped rear sight that makes very quick target acquisition. The grip module has got a flared magwell. The 9mm is the Ruger RXM. If you haven't done so, please subscribe to my channel. I've done a few reviews on it. It is an awesome gun, and in my mind, it is the best 9mm you can buy for the money. You know what, Jacob? There's an answer to that, and you do not need to rack the slide. Watch my videos. If you haven't done so, subscribe to my channel. Dry fire mag. You insert the mag into your firearm, and it does a auto reset on your trigger, and you do not need to rack the slide. And Samuel, what about a Glock? Glock Gen 3, Glenn Gen 4? Yes. Glocks are worth it, but they're reliable? Yes. Would I ever buy another Glock? No. Why? I no longer support Glock because they bent over and they sold out. Simple as that. I love the Glocks I own. I'll never part with them, but I'll never buy another one. And to be honest with you, my Ruger RXM, I'd put that up against my Glock 19 any day. And thank you for that, Vito. I appreciate that. The 43X, I prefer the Glock 19X. No, Glock sold out. They took their flagship guns and they discontinued them. Came out with the V series that has no data to support them. Then a month later came out with the Gen 6, all because of the stupid Glock switch. You know what, Rowdy? There's nothing to laugh at. The Beretta Bobcat is a good quality gun. And you know what? It's all about shot placement. Everybody is so worried about caliber that if you can't shoot, it doesn't really matter what caliber it is. Even a 22 with good shot placement, yes, double stack is better. I happen to like my Glock 19X as far as 9mm goes. I think the Glock 19X is probably the best gun Glock ever made. The 19X was originally made to compete with SIG for the military contract, and Glock lost that to the SIG P320. But the Glock 19X gives you the best of both worlds. You get the full-size Glock 17 frame, so it gives you a lot to hold on to, and it gives you the compact slide of the Glock 19. It also gives you 19 rounds, which is nice. It also came with 22-round extended mag, and it is the only Glock that is not available in black. That's the other thing that's cool about it. It's only available in Coyote. But honestly, I think the Glock 19X was probably the best Glock they ever made. In 9mm, anyway. The Glock 20 in 10mm in my opinion, is the best 10 millimeter on the market. But I have no respect for Glock, being that they sold out. I think Catherine Glock is going to probably manage that company right into the ground. They haven't done anything innovative in 30 years. Yeah, you know what, Rod? That's because people are ignorant. They they don't understand that. Yeah, the frame is polymer, but the barrel's not polymer. This is the problem we have with ignorancy in this country regarding firearms. You have the liberals that just make up bullshit about guns, and they preach it like the gospel to scare other people into not liking guns. That's where this all comes from. It's just like, when the liberals made up the term assault rifle. How friggin' stupid is that? I mean, everybody and their brother knows that the AR stood for Armalite rifle, right? Why would a company intentionally nickname their firearm an assault rifle? That's just freaking stupid for them to even say that. You know what, Roddy? I'm old school. I've been around guns for over 40 years, maybe 50 now. I used to only trust hammer fired guns too. But, let's face it, over the past 30 years, polymer frame striker fire pistols have come a long way. There is a lot of good quality striker fire pistols on the market. Yeah, do I like hammer fired better? Of course. The trigger, a bad hammer fired trigger is always going to be better than a good polymer frame gun. But there's nothing wrong with a polymer frame striker fired gun. They're very reliable. They shoot very well. I like the hammer fireds as well, but almost every 9mm that comes out every gun that comes out looks the same. They're all 9mm striker fired guns. That's a good point you make there, George. And also, part of the reason that Glock is so reliable is that a lot of the polymer frame pistols are very sloppy, intentionally. They're made sloppy because there's a lot of wiggle room in there, so that if you drop it in the mud or the dirt, it'll fire. The metal frame guns are engineered too well, because you get a Kimber or a Colt and you drop that in the mud, it's not going to fire like a Glock's going to fire. So I'm just saying. I mean, I love my hammer fired guns. I love my 1911s. But if you're going to talk about the elements of freezing cold and ice and rain and mud and gravel, you can't beat the Glocks for that. I agree, Jacob. I carry striker fire guns too. Matter of fact, except for my 1911s and my revolvers, almost every one of my semi-automatics are striker fired. There's nothing wrong with them. They're perfectly safe. They do fire every time. At one time it used to be Glock was the gold standard, and if you didn't buy a Glock, people thought you were buying a piece of crap. You know what? Over the past 10 years, there's a lot of good quality striker fire guns that are going to go bang every time you pull the trigger. Glock's not the only game in town anymore. Matter of fact, there's guns out there that are just as good as the Glock for a lot less money. And I also carry appendix, Jacob. Well, it used to be live to survive. Hello there. Thanks for joining. Yeah, it used to be that, people thought if you didn't have a Glock, it wasn't reliable. But the truth of the matter is, every company but Glock has improved on innovation. And Glock is almost like a Star Trek cult or an Apple cult. Apple could turn out the biggest piece of crap, and people will line up outside waiting to buy them. And that's pretty much how Glock is. I used to be a Glock poster child until they bent over and sold out. But I will never buy another Glock again. I don't care if the Gen 6s were on sale for $200. I won't buy one. I won't even look at them. As a pistol instructor, I always have students ask me, what's a good gun for me to get? And I used to always recommend the Glock 19. But now, I only recommend the Ruger RXM. Well, that's a personal choice there, Roddy. There's nothing wrong with either of them. And that is one of the great things about guns, right? Um, Guns are not a one size fits all, um, but there is one for everybody. Um, you may have guns that you love, and somebody else may not like them, vice versa. And thanks for that, Chaz. I appreciate that. The, and then you have companies like California, right, where they ban all the Glock clones, right? Um, Eventually, you're going to just have gun manufacturers say, you know what, screw this. We're not going to make California compliant guns. You know what, Jacob? I appendix carry, and I love my SIG P320s. I have a 9 millimeter. I have it in 45 ACP, and I have the SIG P320 X10. And I haven't blown my nuts off. Mine never discharged and shot anybody. So I'm perfectly confident in my SIG P320s. And I agree with you, George. See, this is the problem we have in our country is that you have lawmakers that don't know jack shit about guns making gun laws. And that is a big problem. I mean, it was almost like when uh, creepy Joe Biden was president and he used to say stupid shit like a 9 millimeter will blow out your lung. And the worst part of the scary part is people believe that nonsense. New York State is horrible. I live to survive. I just saw the thing the other day that now New York is coming after air pistols. You know what, George? I'm not surprised, and it's not just um, ATF. As a pistol instructor, the worst shooters I have ever seen at a gun range are law enforcement. And that is because they only qualify once a year. And, you know, I qualify every freaking time I go to the range. I was at a range and I saw a police officer and her gun jammed every other round. I asked if I could see it. I took the slide off. It was all boogered up. And I said, when's the last time you cleaned that? And she said, oh, a few years ago. Um, You know what, Jacob? I'm sorry, but I'm not buying this SIG bullshit that the guns just go off. I mean, unless you're Alec Baldwin, guns don't just go off. I'm sorry. I've had my SIGs for years now. Um, I appendix carried them, never had a problem. 99% of negligent discharges are when people holster and unholster their gun. And that's because they don't have the trigger discipline. And it makes it even worse now is every moron is putting a weapon light on their gun. So now their holster has a bigger opening and a bigger gap at the trigger guard to accommodate the light. I'm sorry, I'm just not buying it. I in 40 years, I've never had any of my guns shoot anybody. And you know what? He pulled the trigger and said he thought blanks were loaded. He shouldn't have pulled the trigger anyway. But the point is that Alec Baldwin had a single action gun. Okay? On a single action gun, he said he pulled the trigger and it just went off. Well, he didn't pull the trigger because in order for a single action pistol to fire, you have to intentionally cock the hammer before you could pull the trigger. Okay? So he lied. He didn't pull the trigger and the gun went off. He cocked the hammer and then pulled the trigger. Well, now you're making two conscious decisions. So, yes, it was negligence. And unfortunately, the armor got railroaded for that. There's no excuse. He should have gotten some jail time for that. Yes, Alec Baldwin should have gotten jail time. The armorer got railroaded, but the point is that Alec Baldwin lied. He said he pulled the trigger. He said the gun just went off and he pulled the trigger. But he didn't just pull the trigger. He cocked the hammer, then pulled the trigger, which is the only way a trigger will work on a single action gun. So he made two conscious decisions. Cock the hammer, pull the trigger. I'm sorry. You made two conscious decisions. He should have been charged with something. Yes, if we would have done that, we would be sitting in a 4x6 cell right now. Well, first of all, it was not a prop gun. And a prop gun would not be capable of shooting live ammo. And there was a lot of negligence on everyone's part because turns out they were shooting that gun with live ammo the day before. So the armorer should have checked it. Somebody else should have checked it. And if Alec Baldwin knew nothing about firearms, then they should have trained him to notice the difference between live ammo and fake ammo and how to clear a firearm. So, I mean, there were a lot of people at fault there, but he's the only one that didn't get in trouble. Well, that's the problem, George. That was not a prop gun. A prop gun would not be capable of firing live ammo. They admitted it. They never said it was a prop gun. And they admitted that they were using live ammo the night before. Well, that was my statement though, Joe, is that you don't take someone that knows nothing about a firearm and give him a gun and say, okay, go out there and pull the trigger. I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, everybody takes a gun safety class. Doesn't matter he's a movie star. I'm just saying, if you're going to take someone that you know knows nothing about firearms, then you give him a crash course on firearms. You give him a firearm safety class. Yes, I heard that too about Alec Baldwin. He is a flaming liberal. Yes, that's a good point too, Nicholas. Um, parents are, parents are getting charged now um, for leaving guns unsecured and the kids going to school and shooting people and accidents like that. Um, I'm sorry, but every firearm should be secured. And yes, Mark, he is an idiot. Well, it's the parents' job to teach kids gun safety, but a lot of the parents don't know gun safety either. Thank you, Razor. I appreciate that. Let me give you a good example. I live in the great state of Tennessee. We're allowed to open or conceal carry now without a license or a permit. So any coconut now can go to the store, purchase a firearm, strap it on their hip like magic, and think it's going to protect them. Never take a gun safety class. Now, I could tell when I go to the range how many of these dumbasses just bought a gun and brought it to the range for the first time. They don't know how to load the magazines. They don't know how to clear their weapon. They don't know how to do anything. Or worse yet, now you have a knucklehead go out and buy a gun and have a friend of his that's just as stupid as he is teaching him his bad habits. I think that they should not charge people for carry permits. But I think that they should require, at minimum, firearm safety and give the class for free. Yeah, it's the problem there, Joe Bob. I mean, I'm all for less government regulation. And Gold Calzador, thank you for joining. Hello to you. But there comes consequences, right? I mean, fortunately, the state of Tennessee is the only state in the country that requires firearm safety for kindergarten through 12th grade. So I thank Governor Lee for signing that bill. He just signed it last week. And every school in the state of Tennessee, from kindergarten through 12th grade, has mandatory firearm training. And it's a great idea. You know why? Because if you're a kid and you live in the state of Tennessee, odds are you probably have a gun in your house. So that was a fantastic bill, and it was realistic, right? I mean, almost every kid in Tennessee, I could pretty much guarantee has a firearm in their house. George, I know it goes against the spirit of the Second Amendment. However, lives do matter. There are a lot of deaths that could be avoided because people are stupid. Um, I don't have a problem if they make the classes free. I just think that if you're going to carry a firearm, you should at least have to take a gun safety class. I want to know that this knucklehead standing next to me is competent. That's a good question, Brookside. It's not a hunter safety class. It is a firearm safety class. It's probably along the order of hunter safety because it will include pistol, rifles, shotguns. That is true, Joe Bob. Most of us in our lifetime will probably never have to use our firearm. You know what, Timothy? I think you're going to go in your mommy's basement. I hear your mommy calling you. A lot of liberals out there tonight. No, one is not a coward for owning a gun. That was just a brain damaged liberal. You know, the funny thing about it is, most of the liberals are brain damaged. However, the one liberal with brain damage makes the most sense is Fetterman. Why is he the only damaged liberal that's got brains? Yep, some people have a lot of empty space between the ears. But anyway, getting back to the Second Amendment thing, I'm all for the Second Amendment. Don't get me wrong, but I just think that you're opening up a can of worms by letting anybody carry a firearm. Um, you should have to at least take a firearm safety class, and the government should give that class for free. And I could tell you that 2 years ago, Tennessee became a constitutional carry state. When we moved here 7 years ago, my wife and I had to take an 8-hour class, and we had to qualify with our firearm. And now any knucklehead can walk around and carry a gun. Well, I just think they opened a can of worms with that. Um, I'm not saying it's intentional, but you have somebody that knows nothing about firearms carrying a gun. They don't know what gun safety is. I see it at the range all the time. You got to use some common sense. Yeah, and that is true. The whole government is corrupt. You can't trust anybody. And sheep's tards, your mommy's calling you. You can go back in her basement now. Anyway, the whole point of the matter is to be safe, right? And I just know that when it required a permit to carry a firearm in Tennessee, I used to have 10 people every weekend take a gun class. I haven't taught a gun class now in 2 years. Why? Because people don't need them. And the logic is, I don't need no stinking permit. But they should take the class anyway and get a permit for reciprocity, right? No matter what state you live in, you should get the permit, even if it's a constitutional carry state, for reciprocity. Um, You're in Tennessee, driving through the Great Smoky Mountains with a loaded firearm. Next thing you know, you wind up in North Carolina and you get arrested for carrying a loaded firearm without a license. And call me king, your mommy's calling you. Well, partially there, Howdy. The thing is, though, you don't need to own a gun to get a concealed carry permit. And the only reason some states are issuing permits, like the communist state of New Germany, because we lived in New Jersey before we moved here. New Jersey's giving out carry permits only because they realize how much money it makes them. They made the cost of the carry permit so expensive. It's just a huge cash cow. And all night Fortnite, your mother's calling you. You can go back in your mommy's basement now. Man, we got a lot of Democrats tonight. Anyway, I appreciate everybody who's joined the stream today. We do this on Wednesday evening, 8 o'clock Eastern, Saturday, 12 noon Eastern. If you like what we do, we're here. If you haven't done so, please hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications. Yeah, well, you know what? Brookside, we have a stand your ground law in Tennessee, which is awesome. We're allowed to use deadly force on behalf of a third party if we believe their life is in danger. You know what, Scott? Jesus can't help New Jersey. That governor that these people elected is a freaking lunatic. She can fly a helicopter, but she's a lunatic. But you know what? Those people got exactly what they voted for. Hey, Pezzo, sorry you joined late, brother. But we will be ending this at 9 o'clock. Yeah, the problem with the Castle Doctrine law there, Brookside, is that Castle Doctrine law only protects you in your home, where the Stand Your Ground law gives you the right to use deadly force any place you have the legal right to be. There's a huge difference. Huge difference. All right, Scott, you know what? Your mommy's calling you. Time to go back in the basement. Yes, the Castle Doctrine does apply to a vehicle. However, eventually you're going to walk out of that vehicle and you're no longer covered under the Castle Doctrine law. Hey, 3, your mommy's calling you too. Again, those of you who like what we do here, please hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, watch as many videos as you can. That is how we generate revenue, by the number of watch time hours, and that's how we're able to purchase firearms and accessories to review for you guys. No, vehicle isn't exactly the best. No, and the duty to retreat is not right either. That's a good question, Pezzo. I don't own any Smith & Wesson M&P Gen 1s. All the M&Ps that we have are 2s, and like I said, the triggers work. I just find them to be very gritty. However, I was surprised when I bought the M&P 2.0 10 millimeter. That's a whole different trigger than the 9 millimeters. So, um, Ronnie, I'm betting yes. Almost, I think almost every state in the country has got a castle doctrine law. The problem is every state in the country does not have a stand your ground law. And that's a huge difference. See, because the castle doctrine law ends at your front door, where the stand your ground law means you do not have a duty to retreat. You're allowed to use deadly force anywhere you have the legal right to be as long as you feel your life is in danger. And we got about 5 minutes left. So, you guys have any questions or have any comments you want to make or anything you want to discuss? All right, Hex. Your mommy's calling you. She said it's time to crawl back in the basement. So bye-bye. And again, those who haven't subscribed, please do so. We're only 55 subscribers away from 8,000, which is huge task for us. January of last year, we only had 1,000 subscribers. So I thank all our subscribers. We do giveaways from time to time, and only subscribers are eligible. So thank you, Jimmy. I appreciate that. Oh, Jimmy, dude, you have no idea how many people got banned tonight. I want to thank my moderators for helping me get rid of all the liberals crawling out of their parents' basements. But God, we probably got rid of 50 of them tonight. And that's okay. I mean, there are some liberals that own guns that aren't assholes, and they're welcome. Yeah, that seems like a nice trigger pull there, Pezzo. You know, like I said, it's just me. I mean, my wife has got a Smith and Wesson equalizer, and she loves that gun. You know what, Solo? I have a Ruger 5.7. That was probably the biggest mistake I ever made. I bought the 5.7 because I wanted one because I didn't have one that caliber. And that was a mistake, and I'll be getting rid of it. I just think it's pointless. It's too big to carry. Ammo's too expensive. And it's not like it's going to do anything more than a 9 or 10. And thank you, Wild. I appreciate that. And Darren, your mommy's calling you. Bye-bye. Wild Plains, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, you know what? I agree with you, Roddy. One day, all these liberals that are calling to have them take our guns away are going to be calling on all the people with guns to protect their sorry ass because of all the illegals that they welcome into this country. And you know what, Solo? That's the great thing about guns. There's one for everybody. I'm just not a big fan of the 5.7. I bought it because I wanted something I didn't have. But Grace Castle, your mommy's calling you. Bye-bye. I will never carry that gun. And thank you for subscribing, Solo. I appreciate that. And you know, the purpose of the 5.7 is great. The armor piercing ammo. It's got really, really low recoil. It does shoot very well. It's great for follow-up shots because there pretty much is no recoil. It's just that I don't have any safe queens. Every gun that I own, I carry. Whether it's a revolver, 1911, but that 5.7 is just enormous to carry. And if it's not a gun that I would carry, I don't own it. That's just me. Some people have safe queens. They take them to the range. I carry every one of my guns, no matter how expensive they are. Yes, I agree, Solo. You know what? If they made a 5.7 with a 4-inch barrel, I'd buy one tomorrow. But that 5 and change barrel is way too big, and the gun is bulky. I mean, my 1911s have 5-inch barrels, but they conceal very well. All right, guys, it is 9 o'clock. We will be ending this stream. Thank you for joining the stream. We do this every Wednesday evening at 8 o'clock Eastern and every Saturday at 12 noon. So if you like what we do, feel free to come back at those times. Subscribe to the channel. I love having this camaraderie and relationship with all my subscribers. It's a lot of fun. We share a lot of good info. So thank you all, and we'll see you Saturday. Have a good night.